Yes, we are live now. Welcome, everyone, to all the listeners. Once again, we are bringing you, continuing with the series of emotional well being. We are one, freedom of free spirited, and a topic which is absolutely close to the heart of this welcome, esteemed speaker that we spoke last time on a topic which we are continuing. But the topic that we spoke last time, I just wanted to take back a little bit journey about anxiety in relationship. But there are lots of layers of relationships as we always want to uncover, whether it is intimate relationship, whether it is fearful relationship, or whether it is relationships that we want to create just the way we see it. But today, covering and uncovering everything, not just the layers, but just talking broadly overview of the whole thing. What is the ultimate relationship that everybody is looking for, and how do they feel complete about their relationship at every single moment or given some moments? Because there is nothing called we have completed everything or we are in a complete in a relationship, but we are going to talk about that more, about layers after layers in that, and we are going to uncover from that. So today's topic is ultimate relationship, emotional well-being, continuing series of emotional well-being, freedom of free spirited. We are one, so we all are one, but so we all create relationships, we all have relationships. Let's talk and let's see what is relationship overall overview, ultimate relationship. Over to the speaker, guest speaker, Kelli Hurley, who is all the way from Australia, who spoke to us and who gave her insights about anxiety last time. But again, today we are going to talk broadly. So welcome, Kelli, for this once again, and back to see you and back to uncovering from your which is very close to your heart, I believe, this topic, and which you have been through, gone through, but also experienced on your own. So let's dwell into this topic called ultimate relationship that we have chosen today to talk with you. And let's talk a little bit about going back into the previous episode, little bit, but then also telling something about you, what you have developed, how you have understood the whole relationship, and then we will dwell into what is ultimate relationship. Over to you.
Thanks, Shailesh, and welcome everyone. As Shailesh said, I'm Kelli Hurley from Energetically Inspired, and I work as a transformational coach, but also in energetics, and really stem on the energetics of people, right? And our healing process is around that. And for myself, I mean, we talked recently around anxiety, because anxiety is such a natural thing to the nervous system, to our sympathetic nervous system, and how we can actually learn to manage that. But how does that relate in relationships? And most people, when they look at a relationship, they think of it as being with somebody else. We're looking at it as an intimate relationship, or, you know, our partner or our children, that kind of relationship. Yet we have relationships with everything. And if we've got anxiety in relationships, we could have that in the relationship to money or other aspects of our lives, and learning how to actually manage that, and how does it actually amplify within the body and things like that. Now, for me, like I said, the relationship, originally, I used to also myself look at things like, when I say relationship, I would think of a person, right? And, you know, and especially when we look at the topic around the ultimate relationship, the subject, why it's close to my heart, is because once upon a time, I, you know, had this vision, a goal of finding the ultimate relationship, thinking I wanted this partnership. Wanted to receive something, you know, really deeply intimate, that was really aligned. I'm very spiritual, you know, someone that's done the work and had all these aspects around that. Now, also in that same thing, it was around finding the love of my life, right? So it was like the ultimate relationship and the love of my life. One day I sat there and sort of did a little bit of channeling and journaling, as I do. And as I sort of dived into this topic itself, I, you know, years after originally making that goal, realized that I had actually received the ultimate relationship and the love of my life, but not in the original context that I'd put it out to the universe. See, the universe works in magical ways. Some things don't work out the way we want it to, because we're ready to receive something beyond our wildest dreams, beyond what our mind's constructs can actually create. And through my own journey of seeking this ultimate relationship, it really came back to me. It came back to finding me, and the ultimate relationship within me, finding a deeper love. What's my passions? How do I turn up in this world? And through this alignment of my own energy and my own essence and my trueness, and the more I became into this ultimate energy of who is Kelli, my life transformed in every way. I ended up having the ultimate relationship in my life, in the way I created abundance, in my health, in my friendships. Like I gained the closest and most deepest friendships that I could have ever imagined. And even then, the intimate relationships that I sort of entered into definitely were leveling up, you know. But of course, they were also part of the healing journey of finding the ultimate relationship in me, because they were triggering and showing me new desires and new passions and new things that I really like, or new aspects of myself that I actually needed to work through, how I needed to actually be with these pieces in me that were, you know, whether it was anxiety or whether it was insecurities or all these things that we naturally can have. How do I become more in tune with those parts of myself to actually manage that side? How do I actually learn to navigate through my anxiety or my stress response in my body, you know, because I had a PTSD response in my body from trauma, and I had this hyperactive nervous system. So all of these things that I dived into through relating in different areas of my life, so whether it's friends or with money or other things, and turning that in on myself, becoming that relating place to myself, it just absolutely changed my life in the most magical ways I could never have imagined. And when the penny dropped on that day, when I was writing around the ultimate relationship and finding the love of my life, I was like, wow, I've actually found something way beyond what I had ever imagined. And I absolutely, in every way, love my life. It is not dependent on a person and having somebody fulfill me. It was actually finding that fulfillment in me and being able to radiate that into the world, so that the things that were aligned to me came to me, were magnetic and attracted to me.
So this is beautiful, you said, and this is where I want to dissect it and uncover more. Is we talked about anxiety just was just a one layer in the relationship last time, and now what you are saying is absolutely ultimate relationship. You're talking about how you connect and how you create those relationships of various kinds, particularly when you said about intimacy, when you said about friendships and all of that. Now tell me, like, how do we define, like, just like when we say we have mental stress, we have physical stress, we also have mental relationship, we also have physical relationships, and I want to dive into that a little bit, because this is ultimate relationship we are talking about, which starts from our mind, then it converts into our physical, then it also goes back into our mind to get that affirmation, get that confirmation, get that ultimate goal, or like a life goal. And you feel that moment that, yeah, this is a great relationship that I'm having, mentally, physically, everything. How do you make this sort of, just like, how do you say that this is an ultimate, or what is ultimate to you when it comes to physical, mental, developing those relationships or creating those relationships?
Well, the ultimate relationship to me is really being able to be with myself in all layers and all levels, right? And finding actually the light even in the darkness, right? Being able to actually transform all aspects of my life in some sort of a positive way, even when they're tough. Like life does throw challenges and life is not always easy. But when we start to learn to utilize these tools, whether it's the energetics and understanding our mind, understanding how our emotions and the nervous system responses in our body, how do we get triggered and reactive to certain things? What are our values? And more, it's more about a curiosity. So often we judge these parts of ourselves and we get really like we're not good enough. And, you know, we have this really deep shadowing aspect of ourselves, which really condemns us. And so we're condemning part of ourselves, we're condemning part of our lives, which means like we're kind of putting it in a jail cell. We're boxing it in and telling it it's not good enough. And therefore life starts to turn up in not being good enough. When we start to understand what makes us tick, you know, and really being able to have that compassion to ourselves by being curious and asking really good questions like, what is it that I'm seeking beyond that? Is that relating to my values and my desires? Because really a lot of things that happen in our lives come from what do we really value. And if we know what those things are, then we can create that ultimate relationship in aspects of that. And even understanding the things that we least value as well, because they can be our triggers. And how do we relate to those things? And how can we even let go if it's not in our control? There's just so many layers that kind of go into this conversation, but it's really coming back to understanding you and understanding your own internal life, because to me the ultimate relationship is with self. It is the place and the foundations for everything else in your life. Energy mirrors the energy from within, and that way we radiate out. So that understanding of myself and actually being able to manage my nervous system, or self-regulate my own emotions, or self-regulate my own nervous system, meant that I was not so reactive and out of control, and my life didn't feel so out of control. It's not also about controlling it, but also surrendering as well, right? That I have the capacity in myself to trust in me and to trust that the universe has my back because I'm in that energy, and that it's always supporting me, even if something is not how I wanted it to be. Like I said, I was seeking the ultimate relationship in a person. It actually ends up being better, right? Because I see things that there is light in all of it, and it's leading us towards expansion if you are willing to be in expansion. And expansion is really about having an open mind and curiosity to get to that place of understanding, or having more understanding. I mean, sometimes things shift and change as well, right? So we cannot understand everything. We cannot control everything.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Don't you think that this is one part of the puzzle is like, okay, we are connecting ourselves, as you said, that we connect and you connect, and then you want to have that ultimate curiosity, seeking, and all that relationship that you are looking for. But then what about the other side of the coin? Like when you are looking for a certain resonation, certain relationship, do you think the other side of the coin as well, they must be looking for, like someone has got a good relationship as a friendship, someone has got a relationship, just you connect. The first thing is you connect. As you rightly said, you have to connect with yourself first to connect with others. So some people wants to connect based on, say, mental relationship, physical relationship, all these different things. But ultimate relation, we are talking about different layers. But what the ultimate is like, okay, I'm looking for this relationship that I want to go on for a few, moments or few months or few years. What we don't know is unknown territory, but we resonate and we like to have that relationship develop. But the other side of the coin could be initially thinking, yes, this is what is the right relation I have got. But then it gets changed. As you say, that we change, the desires or the ultimate is change. So is there an ultimate, something like that, that we could say that this point it is ultimate, and then afterwards we don't know, but this is how it is? How do you make these kind of decisions or changes? And is it okay to change? Because there is nothing that we can get complete, as you rightly said. So is it okay at every single layers of our life that to change or to have desires that automatically comes to us and then we follow our path? How do you?
100%. For me, the one thing I've realized, the only thing that's consistent is in life is everything's ever changing. We are always changing, right? We as people are growing and expanding or getting older. Our body changes. Every aspect of us changes. Every cell in every moment, there's something going on and biologically changing. So when we understand that relationships are going to change, sometimes we grow out of a relationship. It doesn't mean that it wasn't serving us at that time, that we weren't getting our needs met, or they weren't meeting us at a certain level of value. And sometimes as we change, things do start to shift. It doesn't mean that we can't hold love and that they didn't, have a great place in our lives, or we still don't have that trust and, ability to connect with them. But sometimes that our desires change too. Who I am now compared to who I was 10 years ago is very different. And the things I desire in a person or my relationships are very, very different. But it was also coming into what those things, again, of learning, okay, like as I go through a relationship and I would think, okay, this person seems amazing. And then I might find that they weren't weren't in full integrity and they weren't able to be very vulnerable, or, you know, and it would limit my capacity to also go there. And it would create shadow aspects in the relationship. But then it made me realize that those are things that I really value, that sometimes as we go into these relationships, and discernment as well is really important, because sometimes that things that are not, when we get shown something that someone's doing or something is happening in our lives that doesn't feel good, right? It's actually teaching us the polarity of that. What would we actually really desire? We don't know what we want until we don't know what we don't want as well. And so that's really where people actually help us expand more. So often we get stuck in that, you know, the story of that they weren't, you know, showing up the way they should have, or, you know, not being honest and in integrity, and we really get caught in the negativity. But instead we're actually saying, well, we want that honoring, and coming back to honoring of self. If someone is no longer in alignment and not doing the right thing that is really in high resonance for you, you have an option there. Do you want them to affect your vibration? Do you want them to change the vortex? Are you not going to honor yourself? Or are you going to honor really what do you want in your life and choose to seek something else? And that's okay, because we're all supposed to grow and expand. I mean, in all those relationships that I had, communication was important. And when these things would come up for me and I'd be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I'm picking up, you know, I give them the option. I'm not there to change them. This is up to them. If they want to be in alignment or feel that this is important enough, they will obviously step up. We all make mistakes. I've, in my relationship, have had moments where, you know, I didn't speak completely honestly. It doesn't mean I was lying, but I may have held back parts because I was fearful of how they would perceive me. You know, as your relationships grow and you have a space of safety and you can communicate, which is the foundations. If you communicate anything and everything in any relationship, what you need and what you desire, but be able to feel why that's so important to you, you are able to create that in your life. And if someone else can't meet you at that point, well, you need to honor yourself. And this really comes back to that beautiful place of knowing within you. And as I learned to do that for myself and honor myself and let some people go, even knowing they were beautiful people and they just didn't resonate and we weren't at the same vibrational level. It's not that I'm better or they're worse or anything. We just grew apart. That allowed space for people that actually really resonate. Like the best friend I have now, we can be like completely authentic in every single expression and everything that goes on in our life, even if it's the most shadowy thing and you want to, you know, rant about something. Everybody has those moments to feel safe and communicate with somebody like that. And then know that we have the same similar values around integrity and we both love spirituality. We can speak the same language. Now, if I didn't let other people go and held on to them in fear or trying to change them, I would never have created space for her to come in. And I still would have been held in that energy field, that vortex that would have continued to play in my field, that I wouldn't level up. So it's a choice. Are you ready to level up? Step into those things that you now recognize are actually important things that you're calling in, and speak into those things.
So would it be fair to say to all the listeners who are listening to this beautiful conversation that what I understood is like at every layer of time, you don't know the unknown, but then you have the opportunity to accept the changes that come along. And when you accept those changes with positive mind or with the resonating mind, then you are more and more curious about to learn, but also to accept, also to create more relationships of different kinds, and then get that ultimate kind of resonation that what you are looking for every single time. So there is no full start or end to an ultimate relationship, but there are so many ultimate goals, or like just like goals, you have ultimate relationships happening from time to time. And that is nothing wrong in it to accept those changes, because you got to let go. If there is opposite person doesn't resonate, you got to leave it. But then that is not the end, because then there is something else yet to come. That be fair to say that, Kelly?
100%. And even then, some of the relationships that drifted away, I actually had some of them come back to me at later
Wow.
stages where they were now vibrating at the same level. They needed to go through a journey. Sometimes we have to go through a journey on our own, and we can't hold somebody's hand. They need to do those things on their own, right? And because my heart still remained open and I still loved them for the experiences we had before, we then gelled again, and our relationship reformed in the most magical ways as well. For me, I kind of still see that I have got the ultimate relationship because that's with me. And that's all that it matters, is that if I have this ultimate relationship, I'm with me to the day I die. And so if I can love me and be with me, and even accept the things that I'm a little bit, my insecurities or those things that actually come up, but still own those parts of me, I'm still whole and I'm still supporting me. And the deeper I've been able to do that, the deeper the relationships I have in life, and the more in integrity and the more aligned I am. I think that this is all about vibrational alignment. And the more I own every aspect of me, whether it's good, bad, shadowy, whatever, and can actually learn to expand in that energy, it actually allowed my life as well became more flowing and leveled up as well, right? That the things that came to me were so much bigger than I had imagined, and my life continues to change. The goals that I set sometimes don't come to full fruition, but at the same time, something else is evolving in that space that is actually better, that the universe knew, and I had to let go of what I thought I needed. And then all of a sudden something bigger and better came in, and that's the magic of it, right? It's like we can have goals,
Yeah, but
but
that's probably why I think that in relationships or in connections, we get very much easily become a victim of holding things and holding back and holding, whether through mind, whether through physical, whatever we want to hold it, right? And thinking that this is the end, be all and end all. There is nothing beyond this relationship. There is nothing beyond this person. There is nothing beyond that. And that's where we get stuck. But to understand this, with you being energetically coaching energetics, spirituality because you have been through and you have lived the life through. Spiritual journey is a different journey. It's not like completely different, but it's just like acknowledging and accepting about who you are and just the way you are. And same thing, you accept everyone. But that's very hard for people to live because they always depend on others. So they always look for others to give them that affirmation or confirmation. So when you want to hold back, really, it's easy to hold back in relationship. To open that up and to let go, that is a big challenge. And to have that mindset of spirituality with your energies and energetics, like tell the listeners that what exactly you have experienced or you have changed your mindset to actually let go things easily, thinking that this is not the ultimate or this was not the ultimate, but ultimate is yet to come, basically.
And I've been there, right? This is how I got to this place of realizing by being curious. In the past, I
Mm-hmm.
feared being abandoned. I feared being alone. I didn't know how to do that. I
Right.
went from a relationship of 9 years. 3 months later was with someone for 2 years. 3 months after that was in a relationship for 15 years. I hit the age of 40 and had been single 6 months of my life since 14. I didn't know who I was outside of a relationship, and at first I didn't know how to be on my own. And then I'd go into relationships because I thought that's what I needed to fulfill me, and I needed company. And, I realized that I had all these behaviors because I was open-minded and was curious about how come I was reacting or behaving the way I was. I was people pleasing, so I wasn't speaking my needs, which is very much comes from anxiety itself, and fear of abandonment. That, we want to be loved, we want to be liked. If we're people pleasing, we're trying to fulfill their needs over ours, so we're really not honoring ourselves. I had to sit with those pieces, and that wasn't easy. And even then, after some of those relationships later were actually hard to let go of, maybe because they offered a quality that I'd never experienced and really loved, right? But there was other qualities they didn't have, and I knew that they weren't aligned. um Or, I mean, when we go into relating with people, if we get really deeply into the energetics, we create cords and karmic things. And until we receive our lessons in some of those things and understanding, we're going to repeat the pattern. So we'll get the same sort of relationship again and again. Or people can imprint energy in our system. So that's really about that clearing of the space. And in some of my relationships, till I realized that we had these cords and I was energetically imprinted by some of their stuff, they were hard to let go of because we were energetically still attached to each other. As much as I knew they weren't right for me, I still had all this emotional head chaos and patterns going on, and still wanted to reach out and still wanted to try and make it work. These understanding these pieces came through experience of being curious with myself, really deeply, like learning to be curious with myself, understanding, oh, this pattern is not healthy, this behavior, why am I doing this, what am I seeking, and why am I doing this thing? And then eventually I started to see, sometimes it was even something shared on Facebook, and then I'd be like, there's the piece that I'm missing. That's the thing I didn't acknowledge, or maybe it was there, but I was just too caught up in my own headspace. And so, it can be really difficult because we are creatures of habit. So when we have patterns and we have, or attachments and energetics and things like that, we need to work with our patterns, and that's confronting. It gets easier. It doesn't mean it's easy. Breaking the people pleasing thing was something that I actually had to really consciously work through when I come into a new relationship and they'd say, hey, what would you like to do? Instead of being like, oh, I want you to pick, letting, and say, actually, I really want to go to Chinese tonight. I really would love that. And they might go, oh, well, actually, I was thinking Thai. And I'm actually, well, actually, I don't mind that too, because actually I would enjoy that as well. But being able to speak into my needs instead of just letting them, being the people pleaser, right? And so the people pleaser then had to go through the experience of feeling comfortable to express her needs, express her emotions, saying, this is actually not okay for me, and this is really affecting me, and being able to be vulnerable. And some relationships weren't ready to receive that. So then I had to sit with the abandonment again and fear of being alone. But I wasn't ever alone. The universe was only going to deliver me something bigger and better because I was honoring me, because I was choosing to change myself into a better version. I was owning my part in that relationship pattern and my things of allowing that vibration. If someone comes in and we resonate together, there's something energetically going on in polarity or magnetics or a karmic lesson that we are to learn. There's all these different things that play out. If we stay attached to those things, we don't evolve, right? So sometimes we can evolve in the relationship, but we have to own our piece. Okay, I'm witnessing these things. And a lot of the time it's taking a step back and being with yourself for a little while to recognize those things.
So relationship, you think, is like the habits, or just like when you develop relationship for food, for instance, you like certain age, certain food, then you have like certain food at certain age and certain phases of your life. This is exactly like a relationship. I look at it like, okay, when you're a kid, you like someone, say your mom or dad or sibling, or you like, and then you develop that bonding, that relationship. Then when you grow a little bit teenage, you like a different type of food, just like then you like different friends and your colleagues and all. I see that this is my just own resonation that I have seen. And then as you develop older and go into different phases of your colleagues, and you still develop those relationships, you still seek those relationships, that I want this now and this now. Same thing if you look at from a relationship point of view, you create and connect relationships, whether it is intimate relationship, whether it is friendships, whether it is companionship, whether it is all sorts of relationships that we have. We have got so many relationships that we, across our whole life journey, we create, and we get experiences through that. Then we let go some relationship, we create few more in place of that. But we are ultimately keep looking for that, or is it this is just a part of our life journey? How do you see this whole? Because there is no such thing called according to me, there is no such thing called ultimate relationship as a word, but there is every relation, there is something ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Well,
something.
I think for me, that really, like I said, it's the ultimate relationship is with me, right? And
Oh, yeah.
and that's the truth, that I created this relationship with me, and it is really about honoring me, being in integrity, showing up in my energy, being authentic, honest. I show up eccentrically, all the things that are really true to me that I used to fear showing as well. And so as I learned to embody those things, I actually started to attract people that also embodied those vibrations as well, that actually just bring a lot more joy and love and beautifulness into my life, right? And I would not resonate at that level unless I started to embody those things. And
Yeah.
so for me, it was really, I don't need somebody to fulfill me anymore. I feel very fulfilled with my life and how I am within me. I mean, there's things that I still have insecurities about, but everybody does. So it doesn't mean that I'm not whole. It's
Yeah.
just owning that we have all aspects of a pie, right? So it really, it for me, I really love that aspect. That I think that for me, energetically in a relationship, each relationship basically gave me a deeper understanding of what I really desire, but I had to embody that myself. I had to, if I wanted somebody to be, in integrity and not wear masks, I need to be in that energy as well. I need to show up, because you're not going to vibrate at that same level. And so all of these other relationships have helped me find a deeper relationship in me, which means I'm going to level up to another relationship as well, or never another experience. And I do believe that there is people that can be more like our soulmates. They're not going to be perfect, because I'm not perfect. And they're not going to tick every single box that I desire. That's being, but I really believe that they're going to tick those core value things that I really need, because otherwise, if they can't communicate, or they're not in the integrity, right, and not, honoring their words and their actions, and, can't have fun or be open-minded, and enjoy some of these alternate things that I like to play in, we are just
So,
not going to gel fully, right? We're going to have two separate lives. And if we can create a bonding in our hearts, and I recently was just speaking into, on Facebook, around how a lot of relationships are actually based in an attachment of the base chakra,
mhm.
and can be very much more sexual based, or insecurities, or survival based, and this loneliness and all these other aspects, right, are very much more ego survival, like the nervous system response within there, right? And so the energy of that relationship is not going to move up if we connect with somebody in our heart space and in our mind, but also in that base chakra, creating alignment in all the energetic portals that are really valuable in a relationship. That relationship's going to be much deeper. If, for instance, you were in a relationship and it was based in the base chakra and more in survival or around sex, say, and that relationship stopped and you stopped having sex, there would not be much relationship left, right? Because it was based in energetics of those things, when we start to evolve out of that survival pattern or that energy. But if we have a connection with somebody that's based in our heart, that we care about them and we love them, we see them for who they are, even if we decide that we are not aligned to be like in a permanent committed relationship, as in living together or something like that, it doesn't mean that we're not still friends, that we still don't care about each other. And this is really, really important, is to recognize, are they meeting your heart? Is it actually a connection of love and soul aspect that is very honoring for both of you, because we can love somebody and let them go because they might need to take a journey on their own. They may come back, but that's love. Whereas if we're attached in the base chakra energetics, we are going to fear letting them go. We're just hooked into them, and we have all these unhealthy patterns that arise through that.
Yeah.
So in over my years of experience, it's really finding and learning what is those different energy flows, and how do they meet me at a mind and intellectual level? Do they meet me in compassion and love and vulnerability and care, and are really authentic and truthful, that I can trust them and feel safe? And do they provide for me in the survival aspects as well? That also is a safety aspect. And that's around protection as well. Like, providing is not just financially. Do they provide for me on an emotional and spiritual, connection, that they can hold my hand, and, and also sexually, right? Like, are they able to? Because if we're based down there in that aspect of that, if we're going to speak a little bit on that sexual, we can't raise the energy to our heart. There's a different level of intimacy that happens when we connect with multiple levels of energy within our field. And we can only open those things to those people if we've opened them for ourselves, right? If we haven't opened our heart and is not open to receiving love, and we're not loving ourselves at that level, nobody else is going to be able to love you at that level either, right? So we can't ask somebody to fulfill something that we are not vibrating at. And that is really a true aspect. It's like a learning to evolve and learning to actually see where are we coming from in these relationships, and learning to understand yourself. Like that for me, I know I speak energy, but people can just resonate with the words of, do I feel safe? Do I feel, ability to talk in depth conversations, things like that.
Yeah, but what you are saying is all about what we are talking today is all about the relationship, the ultimate relationship, how people can resonate, how people can fulfill. So it comes back to me, the last final point is that, to summarize it, how do you then make those calls of fulfillment and emptiness? Whenever you get into any relationship or create a relationship, whether it is intimacy based, friendship based, companion based, or sexual based, whatever, when you let go, you feel empty. When you have, you feel fulfilled. But then you keep for that another fulfillment. It's like different layers of fulfillment. And also same in the same token, emptiness is also like different layers. Like sometimes you feel empty, but you still okay with it. Like your heart is full, but you feel empty. But then sometimes your heart is also empty and your mind is also empty. That's how it is. So with this end, coming to the end, I wanted to evolve on these two aspects of where you talked about a lot about intimacy, sexual relationships, how can you connect with the heart, and even how you let go, and how you still don't have to, your ultimate relation is with yourself. You create your own with yourself is the most important thing. So when you see that, how do you tell to all the listeners and to myself, like, what is emptiness and what is fulfillment to you in a relationship, so that you can define or redefine your ultimate relationship that we are talking about today?
Yeah, I really in my last relationship, as much as we had a beautiful connection, there was a lot of stuff going on that was triggering up it was a healing relationship, really. It was a karmic thing, and that's okay, because that actually made me really witness some stuff as well and be reflective. And so I started to see, even then, that the relationship was actually creating a lot of chaos and inability to meet me at levels that I really needed. And the more even knowing, I would talk into that, and they would say, oh yeah, I want to try, and they try once and not again. That would then leave me in this pattern again and again, because I kept wanting or hoping that they would actually be able to meet me at that level. And then eventually it came down to, listen, this is actually vibrationally throwing me off kilter, right? It's consuming my head, it's consuming my emotions. I feel not supported and empty in the relationship and not safe anymore. And I had to honor me, right? It wasn't that I didn't love him or we didn't share beautiful connections when we were together. That's not what I'm saying. But I just realized that they weren't meeting me at the level I really needed. And therefore I felt empty, or was starting to feel really, actually not even empty, really chaotic in my field. And it was affecting my life. I feel like my best friend she adds to my life, and yes, some days, like she's always supportive, and some days she has days where she's out of kilter and she can't always be there, but 99% of the time she is there to listen. If she can't right then, she will come back to me and just check in, and she shows that depth of caring and compassion, right? And so I always feel safe, right? I always feel really safe with her connection. And so I think that this is really a space that, coming back to listening to your own body, like I was starting to listen to my body, and as much as there was energetic attachments going on, which was keeping me there and keeping me partly in that space, I had to witness those things and kind of pull myself away and be really strong with myself in honoring. And as much, like I said, it's not about not caring about them or loving them, but really about self-honoring. And emptiness, I mean, I think sometimes emptiness can be really peaceful, right? I have a lot of bliss and joy in my life, and sometimes I really like quiet and stillness as well. And so relationships don't always have to be about being extremely fun and powerful and just adding to your life all the time. Sometimes there's moments of stillness, and sometimes there's moments that are a little bit challenging, and that's actually a relationship. It's not going, oh, we need to have it perfect and fulfilling all the time, right? But it's really, how do they meet you in those things that matter? And those things are important in fulfillment because they're meeting you at a level of things that are, like I said, important values that you really need to continue that relationship in strength and strides, and even in its difficulties, right? So, and that's kind of, for me, is what is fulfillment. Fulfillment is how does that add to my life, or how are they meeting me at something that is really important? And that, for me, is the ultimate goal. The ultimate relationship is finding someone that can meet me at those things that I find are extremely important. Not all the things, but just the really vital things, right? And that's that communication, and that's that integrity, and that's that honesty, and that's playfulness, and that's owning our own stuff, and being open-minded, and being able to take time away. I'm very independent as well, so I don't, like, it's being able to also self-soothe and not be clingy. There's certain things I just need, right? And that's where I get really honoring relationships, because if I know what I need and what fulfills me and what actually makes me feel vibrationally in alignment, because these are things that I embody in alignment, they're fulfilling my relationship, right? And when they're not fulfilling those things, that means that I'm not honoring myself, right? I'm not honoring a relationship that is not meeting me, and I'm not going to be able to be energetically aligned to myself and have those conversations or whatever it is, because there's something not aligned. Yeah.
Right. So yes, that's great, Kelli. Absolutely amazing talk about this. But as you can see that with what you see, and all listeners can have their own way of resonation, own way of alignment, own way of connection, what they like, what they feel fulfilled at that point. So this is your experiences that you have shared, which is amazing. So what is your final message to those listeners who are listening, to find that ultimate relationship is not something that you can easily pluck from one side of the corner or other side of the corner, but it's something that it feels in within you, some things that you have to connect yourself first, as I can see. And to do that, everybody has got their own way of connection, basically. So in terms of that, and then not get bogged down with like whether you have 100 relationships or 200. It's not about that. It's about every time you have this kind of connection and relation that you develop, and that you feel fulfilled, or that you feel you need to fulfill, basically. What will be your final message to all the listeners in this, finding this ultimate relationship that you have chosen? And we have chosen this topic, which is amazing, because everybody is looking for that something extra, something spark, something they feel that this is ultimate, or this is the ultimatum, that this is my life now. What's your message to these listeners?
And the truth is that everyone's ultimate relationship will be very different, right? Because we all are different beings, right? So if we actually get to know who we are and what makes us light up and what things we really need, and being able to own ourselves, we can actually speak into any relationship as well as to knowing that these are the things that trigger us or whatever. And so I think that that's really the ultimate relationship is actually the understanding of who you are, what makes you vibrate, what makes you tick, what makes you triggered, all the things. And then you can find somebody that's going to meet you at that space that's going to be able to own those aspects and communicate into themselves. And that is the beautiful thing. And if you know what you need and you desire, and desire I find is better than needing, because we become needy, but there is things we do need, and then we can actually go, right, is this person meeting me at those needs? And that is the power, and what I need, and the things that actually on my journey have evolved in that space. If I looked at what I wanted in a relationship, say 7 years ago after my divorce, I actually attracted the guys pretty much straight away. And because I didn't know what I wanted, I just, had sort of put down some kind of goals and, hadn't been on this real journey of self yet. And I attracted him. And then I was like, when I realized he literally for word was exactly what I'd asked for. But I needed to tweak that because there were so many things that it was just like, oh, I actually don't resonate. Not that with the things that I'd put on there, but there was other things that are like, yeah, those things don't work for me, right? And me and him actually still share a really beautiful connection. We're still really close mates, and I still can trust in him as well, right? So we'd established this really beautiful friendship in the end, and he felt like a brother more so, so that those things were actually again showing me the diversity of other things that I desired. And so each time these things just change and evolve as I evolve, and honoring of me.
That's great. That's absolutely a wonderful summarization of your journey and your resonation with ultimate relationship, finding that ultimate relationship. So, listeners, as you can see, even though you may feel at that point that you resonate and then you don't feel after a year or after 1 month or even after one day, it doesn't matter. That doesn't define you, who you are, or that doesn't define your worthiness, whether you are worthy or not. Actually, what it does is, what I can see and hear from Kelli is, she has been through lots of relationships, but also she has readily accepted as well the changes. And this is what our life journey is ultimately all about. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can ever be perfect, but we can always make those perfect moments for us and for us only. And that's what everybody individually lives their journey. As a spiritually, I can say that, ultimately we come here, we create those connections and relationships, and then we also let go those relationships. But then we also create more and more, when sometimes we retain those, sometimes we hold back those. But at the end of the day, this is all part and parcel of our life journey. So thank you, Kilis, for this wonderful, wonderful conversation of finding the ultimate relationships. Hope all the listeners, you understand the finding the ultimate relationship is not something that you can pluck from anywhere, but it is all within you. So, and if you need to know more, please write to us. Any queries, and I can forward it to Kelli, or you can write Kelli as well directly. We'll be putting her information on the channel as well. So yeah, with that, I thank once again Kelli for this ultimate conversation, and we will bring back something more and more. And if you interest in relationship in particular, what you want to know, and ultimately relationships are creations of our own. So don't feel any guilty or shame about it, because you have created it. Am I right in saying that, Kelli? Your final word, and we'll end this.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that we truly are the masters of our own lives, and the relationships that come in are coming in, whether we know we've created that. There's certain things that I, at the time, yes, didn't want to own that, but they were actually teaching me some of the biggest lessons that I needed on my way. And they were soul attracted karmic relationships, and I've been more, I'm very much more now around, I say no to more relationships than I do yes, because I really know that I can feel if there is a resonance. Like I rather just get to know somebody on a more casual, like friendship level, and see if they're meeting me and the heart and integrity, because there's so much that goes on when we meet someone and they activate lust and all these other joyous chemicals in the body, and we can get swept away in those things and miss all the red flags that happen, and so it's learning to take our time. If we want somebody in our lives to last a lifetime, you want to spend a lifetime with them. You don't want to just smash it all out in a few weeks or a few months, right? You actually need to learn to really strengthen those connections and allow them to evolve, and through experiences, and just keeping in integrity and honor of self, right? That is one of the most powerful things you can ever do, is just continue to be honest and continue to honor yourself.
I think that's very well said. That summarizes very well. I think I resonate 100% with you. As a spiritual soul, we got to be integrity. We got to be honest with ourselves. We cannot be, untruthful to ourselves. We need to be truthful to ourselves. So with that, here is a message from Kelli, that please honor yourself. Please listen to yourself, and please connect your own relationship first and foremost with yourself, so that you can create all these beautiful, amazing relationships that you get the opportunity to create once in a lifetime. With that, I thank you once again, Kelli, and to all the listeners, thank you once again to coming on the show and listening to us. But yeah, we are always welcome to get your feedback and get your topics that you like to know, and we can bring back those topics from experts like Kelli, who has got a real experience. So when I say experts, they are real life experts, not just book experts. And it's always good to talk to such people with real talk, real vision. Thank you, Kelli. And thank you to all listeners. We'll come back once again with another beautiful topic. Until then, we'll have to wait, and you can please write to us.